A woman leaned toward a lonely man and whispered his name. Lucas Halley froze. He had spent the evening trying to disappear. His suit was clean but old. His shoes had been polished until the leather looked tired. No wealthy friend stood beside him. No one had saved him a seat. Then Maya Clark appeared behind him. She looked at his face. And when she spoke, her voice was barely louder than a breath. "Lucas!" He turned slowly. The look in her eyes was not pity. It was recognition. Around them, conversations faded as guests noticed. Lucas swallowed hard. He had not heard that voice in years. But he could not understand one thing. Why would Maya know his name? Before we go deeper into this case, take a second and hit the subscribe button, give this video a like, and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. Because what Maya revealed next would change how Lucas saw his entire life. 3 days earlier, Lucas had been standing in his kitchen, repairing a loose cabinet hinge while a pot of rice cooled on the stove. His daughter, Summer, sat at the table doing homework with one hand and drawing stars in the margins with the other. She was 11, but she noticed things most adults missed. She noticed when her father skipped dinner. She noticed when he rubbed his wrist after a long day. And she noticed when he smiled because he was trying not to worry her. Lucas worked as a maintenance technician for a small apartment company. He fixed broken doors, leaking sinks, damaged locks, and anything else tenants called about. The job was honest. It was also unpredictable. Some weeks brought enough overtime to breathe. Other weeks brought bills that seemed to arrive before his paycheck. Lucas never complained in front of Summer. He simply adjusted. If money was tight, he packed lunch instead of buying food. If his truck needed repairs, he drove slower and prayed it would last another month. If Summer needed new school shoes, Lucas bought them and wore his own shoes another year. That was his life. Not glamorous. Not easy. But full of small moments that mattered. Every afternoon, Lucas picked Summer up from school and asked the same question. "What was the best part of your day?" Sometimes she answered with a story about class. Sometimes she talked about a friend. Sometimes she only smiled and said, "You." Those moments were enough to keep him going. Lucas had been a single father since Summer was 4. Her mother had moved away after years of promises that never became plans. Lucas stopped waiting for her return. He stopped explaining her absence. He simply became both parents. He learned how to braid hair from videos. He learned which cereal Summer hated. He learned that a fever made her frightened, while thunder made her brave. He learned that children could sense sadness even when adults hid it. One evening, Summer found an invitation on the counter. "Whose wedding?" she asked. "An old friend's. Are you going?" Lucas looked at the envelope. Taj Solomon had invited him to Archie Clark's wedding. Taj had insisted. "You need one night where you are not fixing something," he had said. Lucas almost declined. He did not own a fancy suit. He did not know Archie well. And weddings were difficult places for men like him. Still, Taj had been his friend since school. So Lucas borrowed a jacket, repaired a pair of dress shoes, and promised Summer he would be home before bedtime. On the afternoon of the wedding, Summer hugged him at the door. "You look handsome, Dad." Lucas smiled. "That is because your standards are very low." She laughed. Then her smile faded. "Are you nervous?" Lucas hesitated. "A little." "Then remember something." "What?" "You always tell me that being alone is not the same as being forgotten." Lucas stared at her. He kissed her forehead. He did not know those words would follow him into the wedding that night. The wedding was held inside a glass hall overlooking the city. Lucas knew immediately that he had entered a world far removed from his own. Cars lined the entrance. Women wore gowns that looked more expensive than his truck. Men stood in groups, laughing about businesses, vacations, and private clubs. Lucas followed Taj through the doors. Taj squeezed his shoulder. "Stay close." Lucas smiled. "I am not 12. I know." Taj glanced around. I just know these people. Archie Clark was the groom. He was successful, confident, and surrounded by people who treated his name like a password. His bride, Maya, was supposed to be the center of attention. Yet when Lucas first saw her across the room, something about her expression stopped him. She looked distracted. Almost sad. Then she turned away. Before Lucas could think about it, Taj was pulled into a conversation. I will be right back, Taj said. Lucas nodded. He found a chair near the back wall. He preferred it there. From that spot, he could watch without becoming part of anything. A few minutes later, a woman approached the table beside him. It was Georgia Clark, Maya's mother. She looked Lucas over. Her eyes stopped at his jacket. You are with the groom's side? Lucas stood. Yes, ma'am. Family? An old friend of mine is. Georgia gave a thin smile. I see. Lucas sat again. She did not move. I do hope Archie has not invited too many people from his past. Lucas felt heat rise in his face. I am only here for the wedding. Georgia glanced toward the ballroom. Of course. Then she walked away. Lucas stared at his water glass. He wanted to leave. He could already imagine Summer asking how the wedding went. He did not want to tell her that he had spent the night feeling like a mistake. A few guests nearby began whispering. Who is that guy? His friend answered. No idea. Looks like he came straight from work. They laughed. Lucas heard every word. He told himself it did not matter. But embarrassment has a way of finding old wounds. He remembered nights when he counted bills on the kitchen floor. He remembered apologizing to Summer because he could not afford a school trip. He remembered sleeping in his truck once after a late repair because he had not wanted to wake her. Nobody at this wedding knew any of that. They only saw a tired man in an old jacket. Taj finally returned. His smile disappeared when he saw Lucas's face. What happened? Nothing. Lucas. I said nothing. Taj looked toward Georgia. Then toward the men who had laughed. His jaw tightened. Come on. Where? Outside. Lucas shook his head. I am staying until the ceremony. Tosh lowered his voice. You do not have to prove anything. Lucas looked toward the altar. I know. But he stayed. The music began. Guests turned toward the aisle. Lucas remained near the back. Then Maya walked toward him. She stopped behind his chair. For several seconds she said nothing. Lucas felt someone standing behind him. Then she leaned closer and whispered his name. Lucas turned. Maya was standing so close that he could see tears gathering in her eyes. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she whispered again. Lucas Halley. His heart dropped. Nobody had said his full name like that in years. Do I know you? He asked. Maya looked toward the ballroom. Not the way you think. Lucas frowned. Before he could ask another question, Archie appeared. Maya, everyone is waiting. She stepped back. Her face changed. The warmth disappeared, replaced by a careful smile. I will be there soon. Archie looked at Lucas. His expression hardened. Who is this? Maya answered before Lucas could. Someone I needed to speak with. Archie stared at her. Then at Lucas. Tonight? Yes. The single word carried more tension than Lucas understood. Archie walked away. Lucas lowered his voice. Why did you say my name? Maya swallowed. They laughed. Lucas heard every word. He told himself it did not matter. But embarrassment has a way of finding old wounds. He remembered nights when he counted bills on the kitchen floor. He remembered apologizing to Summer because he could not afford a school trip. He remembered sleeping in his truck once after a late repair because he had not wanted to wake her. Nobody at this wedding knew any of that. They only saw a tired man in an old jacket. Taj finally returned. His smile disappeared when he saw Lucas's face. What happened? Nothing. Lucas. I said nothing. Taj looked toward Georgia. Then toward the men who had laughed. His jaw tightened. Come on. Where? Outside. Lucas shook his head. I am staying until the ceremony. Tosh lowered his voice. You do not have to prove anything. Lucas looked toward the altar. I know. But he stayed. The music began. Guests turned toward the aisle. Lucas remained near the back. Then Maya walked toward him. She stopped behind his chair. For several seconds she said nothing. Lucas felt someone standing behind him. Then she leaned closer and whispered his name. Lucas turned. Maya was standing so close that he could see tears gathering in her eyes. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then she whispered again. Lucas Halley. His heart dropped. Nobody had said his full name like that in years. Do I know you? He asked. Maya looked toward the ballroom. Not the way you think. Lucas frowned. Before he could ask another question, Archie appeared. Maya, everyone is waiting. She stepped back. Her face changed. The warmth disappeared, replaced by a careful smile. I will be there soon. Archie looked at Lucas. His expression hardened. Who is this? Maya answered before Lucas could. Someone I needed to speak with. Archie stared at her. Then at Lucas. Tonight? Yes. The single word carried more tension than Lucas understood. Archie walked away. Lucas lowered his voice. Why did you say my name? Maya swallowed. Because I have been trying to find you. Lucas felt the room tilt. Why? I cannot explain here. Then where? She looked toward the side doors. Please trust me for 5 minutes. Lucas almost laughed. He had spent years trusting people who promised to stay. Now a woman he barely remembered was asking him to trust her. Before he could answer, Georgia approached. Maya. Her tone was sharp. What are you doing? Maya straightened. I am talking to Lucas. Georgia looked shocked. Lucas? Yes. Georgia glanced at his jacket. Then at Maya. Why? Maya said nothing. That silence made Georgia more suspicious. Archie is about to start the reception. I know. Then perhaps you should focus on your husband. Maya's eyes hardened. I will decide where I need to be. Georgia stared at her daughter. Then she walked away. Lucas felt everyone watching. A few guests had stopped pretending not to listen. His stomach tightened. He hated scenes. He hated attention. Most of all, he hated being the reason someone else was uncomfortable. I should go, he said. Maya reached for his arm. Please. Lucas looked at her hand. She released him. I am sorry. That apology hurt more than the judgment. Lucas stepped outside. The night air hit his face. Taj followed. You are leaving? Yes. Why? Lucas looked through the glass doors. Maya knows me. Taj became very still. What did she say? She said she has been trying to find me. Taj looked away. Lucas noticed. You know something. Taj sighed. There is something I should have told you. Lucas's chest tightened. What? Taj hesitated. Years ago, before Summer was born, you helped someone. Lucas stared at him. I helped a lot of people. Not like this. Taj looked toward the ballroom. Maya's father was in trouble. Lucas remembered. A cold winter night. A broken car. A frightened man beside the highway. A little girl crying in the back seat. Lucas had been driving home from work when he stopped. He had fixed the car. He had called for help. He had stayed until the family was safe. Then he left. He never asked their names. Taj continued. That little girl was Maya. Lucas felt his breath catch. She was a child? 7 years old. He looked through the glass again. Maya was standing alone near the altar. Lucas remembered a little girl with a red coat. He remembered her crying. He remembered giving her his own scarf because she was cold. But why had she waited all these years? And why tonight? Before Lucas could ask, his phone vibrated. It was a message from Summer. "Dad, are you okay?" Lucas stared at the words. He typed, "Yes." Then deleted it. He typed, "I love you." That was all he could send. His eyes burned. Taj stood beside him without speaking. After a moment, Lucas whispered, "I do not belong in there." Taj answered quietly, "Maybe you are not there for them." Lucas looked at him. "What does that mean?" Taj nodded toward the doors. "Maybe someone in there has been waiting for you." Before Lucas could respond, the ballroom lights suddenly went dark. A gasp moved through the building. Then one spotlight appeared near the stage. Maya stepped into it. Her eyes found Lucas through the glass. She lifted a microphone. And then she said something that made every guest turn toward him. Maya's voice echoed through the darkened room. "Before tonight, there was one person I promised myself I would never stop looking for." Lucas stood frozen. Guests turned. Georgia looked confused. Archie looked angry. Maya continued. "When I was 7, my father and I were stranded beside a highway during a freezing storm." Lucas remembered the red coat. "I was terrified," she said. "Then a stranger stopped." Her eyes filled with tears. "He fixed our car. He gave me his scarf. And before he left, he told me something I never forgot." Lucas whispered, "What did he say?" Maya heard him through the microphone. "He said, being scared does not mean you are helpless." Lucas closed his eyes. He remembered saying those words to a crying child. Maya stepped toward him. "That stranger was you." Silence filled the room. Georgia stared at Lucas. Archie lowered his head. Maya walked down the aisle. "I searched for you because my father never forgot you." Lucas shook his head. "I did not do anything special. You saved us. I only stopped. You stopped when everyone else kept driving." That sentence broke something inside Lucas. He looked away. Maya reached him. "I wanted you to know that your kindness mattered." Lucas swallowed. "I forgot about that night." "I never did." Georgia approached slowly. Her face had changed. "Lucas," she said quietly, "I judged you without knowing you." Lucas did not answer immediately. Then he nodded. "Thank you for saying that." Archie stepped forward. "I owe you an apology too." Lucas looked at him. "For what?" "For letting you stand alone." Taj smiled from the doorway. Maya held out her hand. Lucas stared at it. Then he took it. For the first time that night, he did not feel like an outsider. He felt seen. Maya leaned closer. "There is someone else who wants to thank you." Lucas looked toward the entrance. A man in a wheelchair had just entered. Lucas recognized him immediately. It was Maya's father. Maya's father smiled when he saw Lucas. "Do you remember me?" Lucas nodded. "Barely." The older man laughed softly. "I have remembered you every day." Lucas sat beside him. They talked about the storm. They talked about the little girl in the red coat. They talked about how one small decision had changed an entire family. Lucas listened quietly. He never considered himself a hero. He had simply seen a family in trouble. He had stopped because he could not drive past. That was all. Yet sometimes, what feels small to one person becomes unforgettable to another. Maya sat nearby. Archie joined them. Even Georgia stayed. The room that had made Lucas feel invisible now felt strangely warm. Later that night, Maya found Lucas near the exit. She thanked him again. Lucas smiled quietly. "You do not have to keep thanking me." "I know," she said. "But I want to." For the first time, Lucas believed kindness could return when he least expected it. He carried that thought home. When Lucas returned, Summer was asleep on the couch. She had waited for him. Lucas covered her with a blanket. Her eyes opened. "How was the wedding?" Lucas smiled. "Different." "Good different?" He sat beside her. "Very good." Summer studied his face. "You look happy." Lucas laughed softly. "I think I am." The next morning, he made pancakes. Summer laughed as he burned the first batch. Then Lucas told her about Maya. He told her about the red coat. He told her how a kindness he had forgotten had stayed alive in someone else's heart. Summer listened carefully. Then she said, "I told you." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Told me what?" "Being alone is not the same as being forgotten." Lucas hugged her. He still had bills. He still had work. He still had hard days ahead. But something inside him had changed. He no longer believed his quiet sacrifices disappeared without a trace. Sometimes someone remembers. Sometimes someone notices. And sometimes, after years of feeling invisible, one whispered name can remind a person that he mattered all along. There are moments when a person can stand in a crowded room and still feel completely alone. Lucas knew that feeling. He had carried it through grocery aisles, school meetings, repair calls, and quiet nights at home. He had learned to provide without being noticed. He had learned to smile when money was tight. He had learned to tell Summer everything would be fine, even when he was not sure himself. But that wedding taught him something he could not learn from a paycheck or a hard day at work. Being unseen does not mean being unimportant. Sometimes people remember the things we have forgotten. And sometimes the person who feels forgotten is the person someone else has been searching for. Maya did not see Lucas as a poor man in an old jacket. She saw the man who stopped on a freezing night when he could have kept driving. Lucas never knew that night mattered. That is what makes his story so powerful. He was not looking for praise. He was simply doing what his heart told him to do. Years later, that quiet choice returned when he needed hope most. For single parents, that feeling may sound familiar. You can spend your days working, cooking, cleaning, paying bills, helping with homework, and trying to stay strong for your child. Then you lie down at night and wonder if anyone understands how hard you are trying. But Lucas learned that one difficult season does not define your whole life. Before we close, think about Lucas sitting in that wedding hall. He almost walked away. If he had left a few minutes earlier, he might never have heard Maya whisper his name. That makes you wonder how many beautiful moments we almost miss because we believe we do not belong. Before we finish, take a second and share your thoughts about Lucas below. Tell me what part of his journey hit you the hardest. And if you are a single parent watching this, I would especially love to hear from you. Tell us what keeps you going on the days when nobody sees the effort. Your story might be the encouragement another parent needs tonight. If Lucas's story touched your heart, give this video a like. If you believe quiet strength deserves to be seen, subscribe to the Redeemed Single Dad for more emotional stories about struggle, kindness, fatherhood, and second chances. Thank you for spending these minutes with Lucas, Summer, and Maya. Share your overall thoughts in the comments. Would you have stayed at the wedding? Would you have trusted Maya? Would you have walked away after Georgia judged you? Lucas nearly did. But he stayed long enough to discover something beautiful. The people who judge your appearance may never know your story. The people who truly matter will look deeper. So if you are struggling today, remember Lucas. Remember the man who sat alone in a crowded wedding and believed nobody noticed him. Remember the woman who crossed the room and whispered his name. Sometimes the kindness you gave years ago is still living in someone else's heart. Sometimes your hardest season is not the end. Sometimes it is simply the quiet moment before someone reminds you that you matter. Thank you for listening to the Redeemed Single Dad. Thank you for sharing this story with us. If it touched you, like the video. If you are a single parent, tell us your story in the comments. And if you want more stories about fathers who keep going when life gets difficult, subscribe to the Redeemed Single Dad. Your support means more than you know. Until the next story, keep going. Keep loving. Keep showing up. And never assume that because nobody is clapping for you, nobody sees what you do. Someone may remember. Someone may care. And when you least expect it, someone may look across a crowded room, find you, and quietly say your name.